Well, here we are, boys. Welcome to the Race Communiqué. Of course, I've got to welcome my two guests here, Tom Southam, Sports Director at EF Easy Post, and Luke Durbridge from Jaco Alula, a rider still hanging in there. Boys, Southam, I'll speak to you first. How are you, mate?
I'm good, man. I'm a little bit put out that you just introduced us as guests. I feel like we should be co-hosts by now, Durbo. Don't you? Don't you feel like we're above just being, guests?
I think it's like, I don't know how many episodes we've done, probably like 7. Surely by now we're not guests anymore.
Well, that's my point. You don't even know how many episodes we've done. You should know exactly what episode we're up to if you're co-hosts.
Do you introduce your wife as your friend when you go out, Mitch? You say, "Oh yeah, this is Lydia, my friend. Here's my kids. Here's 3 people I know. Yeah, oh, they're your kids.
These are 2 little people that I've met."
It all depends on how they're behaving, you know what I mean? Or like what the missus is wearing. You're just like, oh, yeah, no. Righto.
Well, this is actually the Race Communiqué. We do talk a bit of cycling in this. Of course, this is live from the Peloton, if you haven't heard, presented by our major partner, MAAP. But the Race Communiqué is being exclusively brought to you by the Escape Collective. These boys over the Escape Collective. Boys, we've slipped off the rung a little bit with the Vuelta fantasy tipping. I was fully into it while I was commentating, but I forgot to tip the last 4 days, and I think I'm out.
I was there, and I was going as hard as I could, but it's so unpredictable what's been happening. It's been, it's been a pretty tough one to get right. I'd love to know. I wish, and here's one thing for that. I wish you could see what the people who are leading are picking and how they're doing it. Because some of these picks, did anybody pick O'Connor to win that stage?
Well, Durbo was right onto it because I was up at 3 a.m. commentating. I said, mate, how about O'Connor? He goes, oh, right, is the Vuelta on? Mate, you're on Vuelta time. He goes, oh, I'll turn the TV on. That's how much Durbo was into it.
Yeah, I'm so bad, man. I don't know if I want to actually admit it, but I registered for the tipping contest, and I actually thought if I just run a random, let them do it, let them do the whole Vuelta, see where I'll come.
Imagine if you won.
So that's sort of, I haven't done a single tip.
Did you do the auto pick at the start at least?
Oh yeah, no, I'm just literally. I think I picked Jay Vine for the TT, and he was 14th, and I'm like, that's it, I'm out.
DNF.
Well, the Escape Collective are doing the tipping during the Vuelta, but that is up and running, so you can't necessarily join that now. But I thought we'd talk about something new that's going on in the Escape Collective. It's called the Escape Collective Classified section on their website at the moment, where thousands of used bikes, parts and accessories are being sold every day. It's free for everyone, not just members, and it's different than any other classifieds. And you ask probably why. I guess you boys are probably asking why. Well, it's about trust. It's a great community at the Escape Collective. It's about searchability. They've got bikes under $1,000 you can search. You can search heaps of different stuff. They've got a really good search engine. You can search locally. You can also search buy and sell, global audience, whatever it is. Plus, it's free. There's no hidden fees. Go and check it out. Classifieds.escapecollective.com. We can find some old school rigs on there, boys. Get ready for the Girondo because we're on the eve of the Girondo, aren't we?
Nice.
We are. You got to make your way over though.
I do. That's just a small hiccup, but I can get there if I need to. No one's going to know what we're talking about, but we'll leave that hanging in the air. Yeah. Do your research, everyone. If you don't know what we're talking about, Girondo. Find out about it. Right in. Well, boys, I thought this week, in case anyone hasn't listened before, I talk a bit of racing. Durbo talks a bit of Pelo chat. He should know what's going on inside the Pelo, seeing as he's still in there. And Southam, being a sports director, talks tactics. He tells us how races are won or lost because he knows exactly what's going on. That's how it goes, isn't it, boys?
Yeah, roughly.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. It's all about the Vuelta this week. We're midway through the Vuelta. The boys are about to start stage 10 as we speak. We haven't tipped, so it doesn't really matter, but we'll talk about that. I thought I'd just give everyone a quick little wrap up on what's been going on. The prologue started in Lisbon. It was in Portugal to start off. Brendan McNulty from UAE Team Emirates, he won. It was a really windy TT and lots of riders struggled in the win. And McNulty, for me, even though he is a good time trialist, he sort of came a little bit out of the blue. I didn't think he was going to get that. The way he rode it as well was really reserved. He was behind the time, finished really strong. Then we dropped into 2 sprint stages, if you could call them that, because there's a bugger all sprinters there, and the stages really aren't sprint stages. It's a couple of thousand meters of climbing in these 2 days. And the Aussie Caden Groves kicked it off. Wout van Aert was second. The tip here was that Van Aert kicked off and Groves came out of his wheel. They reversed the roles the next day, and of course the results were different. Van Aert came off Caden Groves' wheel to be the winner in stage 3, a sprint stage if you want to call it that. But stage 4 was a really good stage because that was the first uphill finish, a tough 2K concrete road. I don't know if you boys saw this. Southam, you were out there, 15% average.
Mate, I was stuck behind the DSM car, which broke down on that final climb, and had to basically be pushed by spectators. It was solid. They were car 15 and we were 16, and they were totally stopped like halfway through the race with just bodies everywhere.
The thing is, you told me Van Aert's going to win, and I'm like,
say he was
maybe I
gonna
haven't
win.
Looked at this stage.
I did not say he was going to win.
Probably.
I did not say he was going to win. I said there's a chance he keeps the red jersey.
There was no chance in hell.
Yeah,
it was
there
so
was.
steep. It was ridiculous.
If they went much, much slower up there, he would have been pretty safe. You can't account for them going that fast. I thought they were going to do, 7K an hour. I thought it was just one of those like easy days.
Well, it was one of those ridiculous Vuelta climbs where they just see a bit of road and they go, you know what? Open the concrete truck up and just pour the concrete down the road, and that will be a road. Primoz Roglic from Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, I don't even need to say his name. Everyone knows the team. He bossed the climb. He looked pretty comfortable the whole way up. And a late attack from Mikel Landa when he got back on. Leonard Van Etveld also hit out over the top, and he thought he'd got it, celebrating 5 meters before the line. And the old dog, Primoz, slipped by him and got the stage victory, which was pretty cool to see, actually. It was a really good finish. I was really surprised from Van Etveld because he was top 5 in those sprint stages as well. So he's sort of been the star early on. Stage 5 was back to a sprint. This was sort of a real sprint stage because it was a flat finish. And Pavel Bittner, who from DSM, he defeated Van Aert in the finish. He came off some great form because he won 2 stages in the Vuelta Burgos. A bit of a surprise for everyone, but not to his team. They were like, yeah, he's super quick, this guy. And they sort of bossed it, did the lead out. He was great there. And look, stage 6 is when things got really, really interesting. Hilly Day, which saw Ben O'Connor get in the breakaway. And look, I was probably a little bit on the same side as the Peloton. Like, yeah, cool. O'Connor's up there. He's not super dangerous. If he rides really well, he may get the stage win. When he attacked at 60K to go, I sort of thought, oh, okay, this is interesting. It's a good move, actually. Everyone's mucking around. And he went up the road with Liam Ezer from DSM. And, that guy can ride as well. But then he was just fully ripping it. And he drops Liam Ezer, and I was like, well, maybe this guy's not that good. But then he was just pumping time into the rest of the breakaway and the Peloton. And I was like, well, what's going on here? He was on a day, but also the Peloton was not really on it. Red Bull Bora was just sort of mucking around. I don't know what they were doing. O'Connor finishes with a 6-minute gap. In the end, takes a red jersey. He's got almost a 5-minute gap at the end of that stage, 4 minutes 50. Boys, were you watching this or were you looking at this afterwards and going, what the hell is going on here? Look, take nothing away from Ben O'Connor's ride because it was pretty awesome, but I still feel Bora, Red Bull could have got that much closer if they needed to.
I feel like, there's all this talk of like, I'm going to give the jersey away or whatever, right? And this idea of giving the jersey away, it doesn't happen so much anymore, like it used to happen quite a bit with Vauclair and those guys back in the day. But giving a jersey or giving any time to a guy who's been 4th at the Giro and 4th at the Tour. And Ben O'Connor's a serious bike rider, right? Like proper serious podium contender, right? He had a bad day and lost 2 minutes on the steep climb, which incidentally Richie did as well. So, but that stage itself was quite particular because it was over 40 degrees. You did 2 climbs, and then you basically went into this like really long area, which was wide open and baking hot. And then you had this quite short, quite fast, like explosive finish climb. So it was almost like you can't take that stage 4, as like the form guide, a real one as to where everyone is. So you basically let a contender for the race go down the road based off the idea that, he's lost a couple of minutes on this climb. It's totally wrong, in my opinion.
Well, maybe the next day didn't seem so wrong, because the next day was hilly with a tough 7K Cat 2 at the end where Marc Soler almost stole the day, went away, and Van Aert got over it. It wasn't super hard. It finished in a reduced bunch sprint. And Vacek from Lidl Trek, he was right up there in second. He's been having a really good tour as well. But actually, sorry, it was the next day, stage 8 was the day where it went over a finishing climb. Sarah Cazorla and Primož Roglic and Enric Mas, they just took off. They looked awesome. Mas is riding awesome here. Finally sort of putting it together here, but maybe he's probably going to finish the elusive second again. And O'Connor was losing time, and a fair bit of time on a 5K climb. He lost 45 seconds to Roglic. And it seemed like they were right. In my opinion, I was like, oh, here we go. The wheels are falling off. Stage 9, though, arguably the Queen stage, they're calling it. Look, Adam Yates stole the day. He was in the breakaway with a whole bunch of his teammates. They went over the Hazelanus climb, which is the climb that they use when you're up in training in Sierra Nevada for altitude. So a lot of guys know this climb. Heaps of altitude. It's 7K at 10%. They went over it twice. 4,500 meters of climbing. It was a really cool stage because Yates, he was way up the road. Your man, Richie Carapaz, he attacks to try and go across to him. Doesn't quite get there. He gets second. And O'Connor was riding awesome. He was sort of riding really well, and he came into the final bunch sprint, won the kick for third, so even got time back on that. And for me, now it looks like, okay, he could hang on to the jersey all the way. But look, it's a long way to go, but he looked really good. Durbo, did you see any of this?
Yeah, no, I did. I watched that stage. I mean, the effects of having that breakaway for Ben, I reckon, was a bit of a 2-day recovery period. You know, like he still was probably wearing the effects of having the stage win. I mean, he had 60K up the road in the breakaway. Like that's really, on a really hot day. So, you know, 2 days later when he lost a bit more time, I think he's still probably carrying that fatigue. And then, I mean, these Grand Tour contenders, they're amazing how they can just recover. But I remember 2 years ago, Ben seems to go very well in Sierra Nevada. Like when he was, I think he was 7th in the Vuelta in 2 years ago. And he actually put the team on the front on the Sierra Nevada stage and took it up. And I think he ended up being 4th on the stage there. I think Remco might have won the stage. But yeah, just so Ben trains down there quite a bit. I know he goes to Sierra Nevada a lot for training camps. So I think he just was just like, he knew that stage. He knew the climb. He's confident that he's been gone good there before. And the climb's probably suited him a bit better, you know, just a bit longer. He's a bit of a diesel. So to be honest, I think Ben's just going to get better and better. And I think they've made a really big mistake giving him that time. I don't know what Bora were playing at. Maybe they were also just trying to like coax, you know, like UAE into helping or something like that. But they were helping. I mean, all the other teams were helping, and that's what made me think that O'Connor was on such a day. But initially they weren't, because Jay Vine was up the road. Initially they weren't helping, you know, so they were just like a bit of playing off each other. So anyway, it's just really cool to see. I think Ben went in with a goal. I caught up with him before he went. He went in with a goal to get the stage win. That was his major goal. And now he's found himself in this GC position where he's just like, well, anything's a bonus from now. And generally when you race like that, with that freedom of just like anything's a bonus, every day's just great to be in the red jersey, then sort of you race him with no pressure. And yeah, so I think he's pretty upbeat. And I think they've made a big mistake there. So, and also Roglic, to be honest, he's not like a Pogačar or a Jonas where he's just going to go on a 60K solo. Roglic generally wins from the bunch, puts time in him slowly but surely. And he's going to need to really throw down and go with put big time into Ben. And I just don't think that's his style.
I mean, also, you saw, Red Bull is still pulling. So they gave the jersey away, but they still have to pull because Decathlon's got such a gap now that stage 9, it was Red Bull who was having to ride. And so it's like you've given the jersey away, but you've still got to do all the work. Everyone's snapping at Roglic's heels. He's got to defend where he is. I can't see how... I mean, I doubt they were patting themselves on the back. Maybe they just underestimated O'Connor. I think he obviously was on a pretty special day as well. But it's going to be... I mean, I think it was in a different pod you were talking about the other day, Mitch, the one you did with Bewley, where this is the race where these things happen, right? These sort of mad, wild, well, hang on a minute, because it didn't just happen once. It also happened with Richie on stage 9. I mean, to go and get 2 minutes to do what he did on the group, multiple riders down the road in front of him. I mean, I know he's in my team, so I'm biased, but watching that, you're this is awesome racing that you wouldn't necessarily see that in other races, because the Giro was done and dusted this year. The Tour was pretty much a 2-horse race. But this is okay, now what's going to happen? Is Ben going to hang on? Is he going to crack? Is he going to win? Is it going to be the second year in a row that the Vuelta has effectively been won from a breakaway? And that's pretty cool.
You make it sound like the Sun Tour.
There's split stages as well, 3 stages.
That stage with Yatesy, Yatesy's back on GC now.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't be.
Like I said, it only takes probably, 1 or 2 or more of these breakaways. At one point, Gaudu was going to be in the jersey, because they were up the road. So, you've got 10 or 12 guys that if they pick the right move and it's super hot, and because maybe the depth of the teams are not as high, you can't just put Niels Pollard on the front like UAE the Tour and they just ripped it back, and then they just had below him was just the next 10 best climbers anyway, and they just pulled everything back. Where you're to repair damage, a break's gone, you might be 3 Neo Pros in the team. They're just trying to give it experience. A couple of guys, maybe cooked it up in the heat. So before you know it, you've only got 2 teammates to be able to pull things back. So you run out of depth.
And look, it's going to get cooler. It's obviously getting later in the year, which the temperatures will cool down, and they're going north. So those 2 things are going to suit O'Connor. My other takeaway was really sad end for Rigoberto Urán. Last race now for him of his career, amazing career. I was hoping he'd just get away in a break and, at least fight for a stage, do something fun. So that was sad that he bailed out on stage 6. But on the same note, Rui Costa, can't say the same about him. I don't know what happened there, but initially he went down in this finish, 3K to go. He just decided I'm not even going to ride to the end of the stage. Like Van Baal, who rode 80K with a broken pelvis just to make sure. He goes, no, I'm done. Gets the medical check. There's nothing even wrong with him.
To be fair to him, he couldn't breathe.
He was standing there. I saw him on TV. How was he breathing then?
I mean, he obviously could breathe because he was alive. But so, I mean, we had this moment where the crash has gone down. I was in the car with Wanma, and Wanma hopped out. And at first we thought Owain's going to be the one who was hurt because he went down first, but he got back on his bike. And Rui was there, kicking bidons around, pretty pissed off. And then he was all right, let's just send Rui on his way. And then all of a sudden he stopped. And he's I can't breathe. I can't continue. And this is it goes into a bit more of a serious discussion as to because we're look, you've got 40 minutes time cut to get to the finish. It's 8K.
How far was it? 2.5K?
No, it was
3K?
It was 8K.
Oh, 8,
8K.
Okay.
You had to roll 8K. You've got the ambulance behind him. Just roll there, and then we can sort it out. We said it to him once, we said it to him twice, and then at a certain point, you don't know. Maybe he's got a punctured lung. You don't know. You don't know. Stood by the side of the road as a sports director, how serious it is to force. You can't just say, go on, mate. It's like with a concussion. You can't just be come on, stop being so soft. Go there. I mean, the fact you call him soft, he was. I saw him that night, obviously, hobbling around like an old man. I can pretty much guarantee you that Rui Costa is a fairly fairly hard cyclist, Mitch. And
well, I'm only drawing the correlation that he broke one bone in Valencia, I think it was this year. So I just assumed he was super scared about breaking his second bone so close to the end of his career.
I'll let him know. He's a soft
that's
cop.
good. Cleared it up. Boys, any other takeaways from the Vuelta before we move on?
Just a bit of a impressive comeback from Jay Vine, to be honest. Like he had a massive crash start of the season, and just to come back from that. I'll touch on a little bit of the injury stuff after this, but yeah, just a shout out to him. Like that's a lot of work gone into that, and so yeah, he's racing well. So good job.
More on Costa after this, is it?
Yeah, another Rui Costa segment. Now,
injuries.
The one thing I would say is like the heat there, man. That I think the top 3 hottest races of the year were the first stages of the Vuelta there, and you were there. And honestly, I've never ever seen like given out so many bidons, given out so much ice. It's like it was proper cauldron out there, and so
wow.
Man, never seen anything like it heat-wise. It was hardcore.
The frying pan, they call it.
Yeah.
All right, let's have some Pele chat.
All right, guys. Pele chat this month. I thought I would touch on injuries, actually. Currently at this moment, I actually got hit by a car like 2 days after the Tour de France, and broke my jaw in a couple of places. So I've been away from racing for the last 6 weeks, and I just thought it's an interesting thing that probably from the outside people wouldn't understand, but you sort of think people are away training all the time and then coming back and then training and coming back. There's this never-ending circus of the professional cycling world, and when you're in it, you're just continually going to a race, preparing for the next race, going to a race. Probably about 500 pros all over the world just doing this and dropping into the races and coming back again. And all of a sudden, when you're ripped out of the bubble for an extended period of time, people are like, oh, where'd that guy go? And all of a sudden, you know that he had a crash in, Burgos, and he had 4 months away, and he's been working meticulously at home, trying to get back to go to the next race. And you don't know that, and you don't really know where everyone's been, and it's not necessarily someone gets hit by a car out training. It's not like there's a press release every time, to say, hey, this guy's out, this is why you won't see him. It just sort of happens, and then within the team, and no one else knows, So I just thought I've had some pretty solid injuries in my career. I thought I'd touch on my mindset when I am away from those crashes and what I do to try and get back as quick as possible, and what you do in those periods. So I'll share an example. Was 2017. I broke my ankle in the Tour de France. First stage, I washed out on a corner, hit a curb, broke my ankle. So I went home the first stage of the Tour de France. So pretty upsetting. Didn't really understand the damage that I had done. Had the scan, and it looked like I ripped the tendon off the side of the foot and fractured my heel, and it was all pretty solid. So I was like, okay, how long to the doctors? And they generally give you, your rule of thumb, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks until you can race again. And as an athlete, it's funny, you just half that. As soon as you hear that from the doctor, it's quite funny we're pretty lucky. If Joe Blow 9 to 5 breaks a collarbone, he's got 6 weeks off to heal, but he can't dedicate 9 to 5 to repair it. Where we are like, well, we've got every hour of the day to repair whatever went wrong. So we actually blow the minds of doctors, because you go, oh, I can't believe you're back racing already. But no one has the time to be able to dedicate that much time to your injury. So
and resources. I think the resources. That's one thing I noticed the most since being retired is you have to go see a normal GP, and you have to go through the rigmarole of just normal stuff. Whereas for us, it was like, call up your personal doctor, that answer the phone and go, can you write me a script for, I need some Panadol, whatever you would need, to get over a flu or, to get some antibiotics or whatever it was. And that was that, problem solved in 5 minutes.
Yeah, you really believe that you are machines, that when you got downtime, for example, like a haul pack on a mine site, when that goes down, you're losing money. So it's sort of like you got to get these machines back up and running as quick as possible. And so anyway, when I broke that ankle, I quickly realized, okay, well, what's actually been holding me back? What is something that I might struggle with in racing, for example? Like, is it my sprint ability? Is it my robust? My back was giving me also issues back then as well. Was it my diet? Something that I could really work on that didn't affect my ankle. I could really just go for it. So I just went like...
I love that the point of actually just relaxing and recovery is not even in the realm.
No.
What else can I rinse?
Yeah. God no. So I had some asthma stuff that was going on. I was struggling to breathe. So I'd done some research that swimming was actually like the way to go for asthma, and they get kids to do it to fix their breathing. So anyway, I got a swim coach from back in Perth to write me a program to become like a swimmer. And I couldn't kick because I obviously got a broken ankle. So I bought a buoy that I could tape my legs together so I didn't kick. And I would go, every day down to the pool. And this session was pretty much just like breathe every 1, breathe every 3, breathe every 4, breathe every 5, and breathe every 6. And you do 200 meters of that. Each one. And like breathing every 6 is bloody hard if you're not a swimmer for 200 meters. So you get to the end of the pool, you're like, it was horrendous. And anyway, I did that for 6 weeks. Fixed the ankle, lots of rehab. Like it was not fun. It was like just the hard time being away from the bubble because you got no real... Generally, I couldn't be on the road with my mates and it couldn't be like riding in the sun. You're just indoor at a swimming pool, just working on that. And I came back. I had a really good classic season the next season. Had some really good time trials. I won the Nationals the next year. There were some really good moments post that injury that I'd say without having that forced rest, like away from the sport, I would never be able to work on those small details that maybe prolonged your career. Like I got to get in the gym more, understood a little bit more about, core strength, and I was just a bit of a young guy, just rode, but all these extra things. So that was really positive things. So I thought I'd ask you, Mitch, you've had some pretty solid injuries in your career. Was there any one particular that you sort of came back better from?
Well, it's an interesting question, and just hearing you say that, I remember Tom Boonen said the exact same thing when I interviewed him last year. He said, that time away for him got him out of the bubble and got him a chance to reset, and he was going on big walks and stuff like that. And I think injuries are really healthy for that. And I always say that Roubaix crash that I had, not for the physical rehabilitation, but for the time that it allowed me to reset and understand what I had as a pro, and that chance I got to ask myself, did I want to do it, and how do I want to do it if I come back? Whereas I feel like when you're racing every race, and like you said, you're in the bubble and there's another race coming, you don't have time to think about what you're doing. You're just doing. You're recovering and you're getting ready for the next race. You don't really have time to reset and actually assess what you're doing. But I do love, as pros, and I did the exact same thing, what you start inventing how to keep training. And I remember seeing Pogacar doing like running upstairs with a, backpack full of sand. And I remember when I had an injury, a crash years ago and got the concussion, I couldn't really ride and I couldn't really run or do any things like that. So I just took up walking. Like I was just like, all right, whatever I need to do, I'm just going to walk there. And because you have time, you don't really have anything else to do. So like, right, sweet, need to go to the shops. It's like 12K away. Looks like I'm walking. And it was just like, I was just the walking guy. And I remember going to Queensland and a friend of ours up there, he'd be like, Munners, he'd be listening. He'd be like, I can't believe you walked down there. I'm like, yep, just walked up there, got a lunch and walked back. That was my day, Just because it's like all about just trying to keep moving, stay lean, and we just all invent sort of things. What about you, Tom? Like you hearing these sort of things and you knowing, well, maybe you've got a story yourself when you were racing, but also things you've got to sort of pull guys back in the team and go, hey, boys, that's so ridiculous what you're doing. Stop.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually got a pretty ridiculous example of my own behaviour. So I didn't break many bones in my short time racing, but I did break my scaphoid, both of them. One of them I broke at E3 prize, like totally innocuous crash, put your hand down, scaphoid's gone. It was E3, so it's early in the year, super motivated, and I'd heard that when Rolf Sorensen crashed once when he was leading the World Cup, he just did 5 hours a day on the home trainer. So I then thought, okay, I'm just going to do 5 hours a day on the home trainer.
No.
Back then.
Back then. So we're not talking about Zwift home trainer. We're talking about like home trainer that makes a noise, nothing to look at, like literally nothing. I did 3 hours in the morning and 2 hours with intervals in the afternoon.
Oh, for how long?
So the time I was off, I think it would have been a good 3.5, 4 weeks, I reckon. And then, amazingly, when I got back onto the road, eventually, I was still shit. So that was an absolute waste of time.
I was waiting for this, then I won Roubaix, Matt Hayward. But no, it's just still shit.
Nah,
Too much. Too much ergo. 5
hours a day, like just sweating and just fucking, and that was that. But I mean, as a DS, you obviously see it, and like, I'm honestly like these days astounded by. I think that the worst one I saw with Mike Woods broke his femur at Paris-Nice a few years ago, 2020, I think it was. And I remember Mike on the floor there. I mean, when you hear people, like you hear some people are in pain, but I mean that guy was like it was like a guttural noise that kind of it's sickening to hear it. And you just think, man, this guy is like, he's going to be out for so long, and he's just not going to be racing or whatever. I mean, then you saw the work that he put in. I think he was working with Rich Spink, wasn't he? He
was working with Spink. It was every day. Spink was training with him. It was insane.
And Mike just went at it and to come back. I mean, since then he's obviously like his career's gone on, and he's won tour stage, and he's still racing at an extremely high level. And it's staggering to see. Like, I'm close, but not a rider, and you still see it, and you still think, man, these guys, like, it's to get there once to be at that level, but then to have the setbacks, because these crashes, they're like, I mean, again, I was there in the car at Basque Country this year when you see those guys on the floor, like they're serious crashes, and the injuries you talk about, like you talk about it kind of casually, like, oh yeah, I broke my ankle, but like in normal life, it's like, you don't often break your ankle. And if you do, it's like you do it once and it's kind of a done thing. But as a rider, you kind of have this list of, oh yeah, I broke this, then I broke that, and then this, and then we stuck some pins in here, and it's like, yeah. I mean, it's mind blowing, but I think the resolve that guys have, and I think the idea that you can come, because it's the first thing you think, like you said, Luke, is like, I'm not going to come back. I come back better. And it's like that's what gets.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody thinks, oh yeah, great, I'm going to come back. I'm going to work really hard, and I'm going to be at the same level. Everyone thinks. I mean, even me. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to be better. But in some cases, it doesn't work out. So.
Well, imagine, poor old Rui's on that road now.
Mate, he'll be back. Don't you worry.
Yeah. So I thought that was quite interesting, because we've seen so many times that riders have come back and they've disappeared for a little while, and then they have come back better. But it's just the mental resolve that you have to, like you're saying, Tom, to see these guys do it. And I think the mindset of like to come back better. And it's just, the resources, like you said, Mitch, there's all these things that go into it. But it is interesting where you get ripped away from the bubble, and then you're like, okay, how do I get back in it as quick as possible, And I thought it was a little good for people on the outside to sort of understand what goes on around that.
It's interesting also when you say that. It's like, when you're suffering and you think that as a cyclist, it's like it's just a hard job and it's a shit job. It's like, fuck, I've got this race and I've got that race. then you get forced to stop. And it's like all you want to do is get back to doing it. Like
Exactly.
When you've been
you're grim in a race in
ah.
Belgium and you're like, oh, I don't want to be here. The
Yeah.
next minute, like I said, I broke my jaw 2 days after the tour, and I was just like, oh, that's terrible because now I can't race.
Yeah.
You know, I've just finished a Grand Tour.
Yeah, imagine if
and
you
having
got a
7
call.
weeks off would be quite nice. But
Yeah.
instead, I'm like, well, now I've actually got to train. You know,
Yeah.
like that's the hard thing. I've had to do 6 weeks of proper training. You know, it's like, oh, get me back to a race as quick as possible.
So, talking tactics, as we call it, going to go a little bit different. Going to talk a little bit about transfers. It's obviously the time of year when people are talking a lot about this. And incidentally, I don't know if I've spoken to you guys about this, but your idea on transfers and when they happen. Don't you think it would be good to change teams on the 1st of November? Have we discussed this?
Why? No.
So,
No.
I mean, changing teams on the 1st of January to me makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it just be great if you could just have your new bike and your new kit, or I mean, even if it's not new.
like actually change teams. Yeah, right. Not do the contract.
No. So there it goes. It's like, so basically once the season's done, okay, all right, 1st November, you're free. You got training camps coming up. You can wear what you want. You can start on your new bike. You can do all this stuff. Because I still think it's pretty, like, we're already talking now, and this is one of the things that I find interesting about the transfer stuff. It's like Ben O'Connor, he's still riding for Decathlon, but everybody knows next year he's at Jayco. You know, so it's like you're kind of already getting a little bit of a win by him performing, because in every breath it's like, oh yeah, Ben O'Connor, who's going to Jayco next year? It's like,
Yeah, true. You're already capitalizing on that.
exactly. And if you're his team, it's like, hang on a minute, we're still paying, he's still riding for us, but
Yeah.
in everyone's mind,
That's a
he's gone.
Jayco win.
Exactly.
But you are right with the November thing because, like, for example, Ben O'Connor might line up at the Nationals in Perth, and that's on the 6th of January. So he changes bikes.
Yeah.
5 days later, he's got to line up.
Yeah, but
at
we
the
all know that
Nationals.
doesn't happen. So that makes sense to what you're talking about, Southern. But it still doesn't.
No, it depends. It depends. A team
but
can
how
actually
often
literally.
does that happen?
Like if Agent 2 are that's happened before. That has
To who?
happened before.
We
Guys
had it
have gone
with
on bikes and
we had it with Drapac with Plugger. We emailed Plugger and asked if Graham Brown could ride his bike to do a Wednesday night crit in Melbourne, and they rejected it. They said no, he couldn't. He had to ride his Bianchi. So happened. Anyway, transfers. So the big stuff that's happening is Astana splashing the cash. I mean, a lot of what I've seen so far from when I look at the transfers is teams who are in a bit of trouble points wise, trying to buy their way out of it. And I find it quite interesting that it's going to inflate the price of riders dramatically, particularly at this moment in this year, riders who've got potential to score points. But also the question, and I don't know what you guys think about this, it's like, if a team's failing for whatever reason, just buying expensive riders, is that the answer to succeeding? You know?
Yeah. Well, you got to obviously have the culture.
Exactly.
But I was having this conversation the other day, like, where does the experience card stand anymore? Is that worth anything anymore?
Experience.
no.
Like an older rider who goes, you know what, I'm experienced. I may not be able to push 480 for 20 minutes, but I can get around the bunch and I can teach young guys where they need to be. I can helmet bop people if I need to. Does that card even exist anymore?
Nah, because the Velo viewer and a director, like if you get a good director with a good Velo viewer and a good radio, like that's actually like, you know, for example, like if you got a guy retires early and he wants to go in the car, like for example, like having Matt Heyman in the car, like, you know, he's awesome. He's probably one of the best directors I've worked with, and he's just got Velo viewer, he's got the wind, he's got this, he's got that. Like I'm an older guy and I would be like use my experience, but like there's not a lot different for what they see as what they can see now. Like there is still some things, but like it's not as important. But it's back to your question, Tom, about the money and the riders. It might band-aid the problem for 1 year, but I think you then find yourself in the same issue very soon after. Like you might, okay, shit, I need points. I'll buy a rider who gets points. He might get you points the next year, but you might have overpaid for that rider. He might be over the hill. And then next minute he's retiring again with your team and you've only had him for a year. It's just like, it's a never-ending cycle. If you choose to do that, then you end up just chasing riders every year to get your points, where I think it's better if you have time. But like I said, next year is the point system. You don't have time. Astana's got to do what they got to do. They're in a dire straight situation. They have to buy riders because they literally will not make the cut if they don't.
I mean, so they've signed, obviously, Bettiol from us, Higuita, Wout Poels, who probably is more on that experience side, to be honest with you, Mitch. He must be, because his results, great tour last year, we got stage win, but this year they've dried up. And I think when things start drying up towards that part of your career, it's different from if they dry up for whatever reason when you're younger.
Higuita's going there. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, they're obviously going to spend big. They're trying to nick Caleb from you, Durbo. Dino's he'd be breaking into your apartment tonight, trying to steal other stuff from you, whatever, you know.
He won't be breaking into my apartment to get any UCI points from me. No way.
So they're like the major movers at the moment, obviously. Or like, and what happens with like trying to find a sprinter? I'd heard a rumor about Caden Groves. Don't know if that's true or not. But also in the same sort of similar sort of boat, underperforming is Cofidis, and they've picked up Aaron Buru, Simon Carr again from us, and Dylan Turns, who again sort of in the mold of Wout Poels, I think is maybe past his absolute best. I mean, those two teams in particular, you can see like their idea is just basically desperate to buy themselves a way to score points to qualify. And I mean, to be honest with you, looking at it with the way that, you know, it's going to be a tough fight for them. It's going to be a tough fight for a few teams next year, but that's going to have the biggest influence on the transfer market.
Where's O'Connor going?
He's coming to Jaco, mate. He's coming home. It's coming home.
The most interesting or exciting things that I've seen, I think, is Tudor with Hershey and Alaphilippe. That seems like a good fit. It seems like the team's going in the right direction, and they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be in time to step up, certainly in this next cycle. But they're obviously going to be, you know, kind of the best of the Pro Conti teams next year, which means the invites for everything's going to come. And so they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I mean, Hershey, if you look at the form he's in, that's a fantastic signing. Even Alaphilippe's coming back.
Well, like you could say the same thing about Lysenko leaving Astana for that. You know, he's that rider who was performing well there and now has gone to Israel as over the hill type feel. You know, like still a good rider, but you know, he's if you want to use the experience card, you know, maybe he's going there, but he's not really that type of rider, is he?
Nah, I'm not sure about that one. It didn't seem like a great move in any. I mean, obviously they've got to make space at Astana, so there's going to be.
That's what it looked like to me. Yeah, they're making space.
Israel's been doing a great job this year, and like but that's all been from the talent that they've developed within Israel, from their development team all the way through to the, you know, and I think all those young guys, like next year, Joe Blackmore, like he's just won Tour L'Avenir. Like this guy's a weapon. He's going to Israel, and then Stevie obviously stepped up there. Schultze, like they've done a really good season, and I don't think getting someone like, no offense to Lysenko, but I don't think it was necessary. You know,
who's going to go to Ineos Grenadiers? They need someone to really step up there.
I mean, it's all the stuff I've read is young guys, which I think, you know, they've been talking for a few years about this investment in young talent, and they're going to want to start to see some of that maturing. You know, It's obviously gone. He's gone to Quick Step. See how that goes. It could be good. It could be great. I don't know how Lefebvre's going to like it if you sit last wheel all the time.
They lost Navarez, who went to UAE.
That's I think that's I think a really really great signing because Narvaez is he can do the job, but he's also I think UAE's problem is they've got too many guys who just want to be the winner, and I think Narvaez system where at least Ineos they've got a system and it's like you're helping and you're gonna help and you're gonna make sure you do your job, and so he should be pretty disciplined with that. And UAE need a bit more. They've got Pollitt, Sivakov, I think, who does a good job without is it ego getting too inflated. But when you've got
that's the Ineos coming out of him, I think as well. Sivakov is the Ineos as well, like you said.
Yeah,
trained him,
ingrained in him.
What about the move of Yates to Visma, Lisa bike?
I mean, I would be interested. Yeah, what's your take on that? Because I mean, to me, it looks good. Can do a similar sort of thing to his brother. The feeling, I mean, he's been in your team his whole career now, so it must be a bit of a strange.
To be honest, it was pretty sad actually to see that happen. Really, really sad. I mean, Yates is a good friend and actually probably one of the best guys I've ever worked for. And he's just such an awesome guy, and when he brings his A game, he's one of the best. So that was a big loss for us. I think potentially what he's seen from his brother, just seeing what else is out there. Not saying he's coming to the end of his career, but I just would say that if he was ever going to change, he's probably still got enough good years in him to go, okay, if a change maybe, draws me out and shows maybe something like for example, what Adam did when he went to Ineos and then on to UAE. So, yeah, I mean, I remember speaking to him and he's just he's upset. He didn't want to go. He loves his team. He said he still feels like this is his team in terms of he's really passionate about it. But he just wanted the opportunity to go, okay, I'm going there without the big pressure. He's got Jonas there. They've got Van Aert there. He's not necessarily expected to win. It's just we're going to bring you and we're going to give you every resource possible to be the best as possible, and without the pressure. Because on our team, he's the big key rider. He has to win.
Been the leader forever,
all forever since he was bloody not 20 years old. So having that freedom, yeah, I'm hoping that it works out for him. To be honest, because I think he's still got some really big victories still to go, and it'll be interesting.
Right, boys, special edition quiz. Here we go. It's a Rigoberto Urán retirement Rigo themed quiz for you. Rigo rode for 6 pro teams. Who can name them all?
What do we just yell out?
Whoever goes first, the other person can then steal. All right. So.
All right, I'll work back. EF. Sky before that. So out of order. 6 teams. Oh shit! I could be buggered here. Okay. Casaspan. Well, he rode for Unibet.
Good.
Quick Step.
Yep.
There's one more. Damn it. Who is that? I have to tap out.
Almost impossible. But I'll give you a clue. The kit was all green. Durbo.
Liquid gas.
No. Unlucky.
Oh, Kelme.
No. He's not that old.
No. It was. You want another chance?
One more clue. What country?
Dave McPartland.
Oh, he rode for No. That's
Come on, Mitch.
Oh, what is that team called? I know it. I can't say. Oh,
not LPR breaks.
Starts with T.
Yes.
Tenax. Yes.
Yep. One for
yes. Suck it, Durbo.
Tenax was his first team. So
was it?
Yep, Tenax, and then he went to Unibet and. So
Yes.
On that theme, which one of these was not Rigo's teammate? Jeremy Hunt, Tom Boonen, Dan Martin, Mitch Docker, Mark Cavendish, Fabio Baldato.
Jeremy Hunt.
Durbo?
Um,
Because Jez is wrong.
Oh,
I was-
I think I know who it is. Damn it.
It's obviously
can you read them again? Sorry.
Cav, Mitch, Jez,
Yep.
Boonen, Dan Martin, and Baldato.
Dan Martin.
Dan went to Quick Step when Rigo went to
Rigo.
What team did Jez ride with him on?
Unibet.
Ah, yeah, of course. Damn it.
Suck it, Mitch.
Like Cookie and
Yeah, Matty Wills.
Do you even know this guy? Were you teammates
That
with this guy?
wasn't to do with him.
Don't you discuss that in the room with what teammates you're not being teammates with?
In Colombian.
14 races as a pro, including 3 one-day races. I'll give you 1 point for each of those one-day races you can name. Go for it.
Lombardia.
San Sebastian.
Nope.
Milan Torino.
Yes, it's one for Mitch.
Yes.
Miguel and Geraint.
No, one of them is a World Tour one-day race that is coming up and is not in Europe.
Oh, Montreal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Quebec. Yes.
Oh, it wasn't Montreal. He won
Yeah.
Quebec.
Yeah,
Up the long sprint, he attacked, of course. Oh,
and there's one more,
Oh,
but you're never going to get it.
is it in Europe?
Italian,
which
It's in
country?
Italy.
Italy, end of season. And he beat Chavez, I think.
Emilia?
Marco Pantani.
Nah, it's one of those.
Veneto.
Nah.
Trevally.
How
many more are left?
I'm Piemonte.
Crazy.
Piemonte.
Piemonte.
Piedmont.
Well, that's
Okay.
2 to me.
It's actually 3-1 the score at the moment, Mitch. So, which year did Rigo complete the Grand Tour stage triple, and which order did he win his stages? Which Grand Tours? In which order?
Well, if you did it in the 1 year. Oh, you mean...
No, he's won stages in all 3 Grand
and then
Tours.
what year did he complete the triple? Right. It would be the last stage when he got, which would have been in
The tour.
the tour when he had no gears left and he was sprinting in the big dog.
Nope.
2018.
Nope. So he won a stage in all 3 Grand Tours.
Well, I think he did Giro, Tour, Vuelta.
Correct. Which year did he win his Vuelta stage?
What? Was I there? Did he win a stage when I was there? No. Has to be in 2017 then.
No.
That was like 2020 or 2021.
2022.
22.
Last
There you go, I'll
year.
give one.
I was there. I was actually there.
You were.
Oh, he beat Lawson Craddock. Actually, he caught Lawson. Yeah.
1
Yep,
point
yep.
each.
Yeah, 1 each for that. So, okay, here we go. Let's get down to it. What do Andre Greipel and Rigoberto Urán have in common?
Is it an A, B, C, D? I was just leaving it out there. They're both...
Same year's professional.
No, they've got one thing they've done outside of cycling they have in common.
They both make T-shirts, merchandise.
No, it's better than that. It's so much better.
Both of them have been on TV commercials.
Nah, sort of similar.
Both of them have impersonated Mick Jagger.
Close.
Oh. Both of them have met Mick Jagger.
It's got something to do with a rapping gorilla.
Oh, I didn't even know who that is. Both have met the rapping gorilla.
Both of them have their own song out.
Oh.
Rigo has a song called Go Rigo Go,
Of course.
which was a big song in Colombia. And Andre Greipel once did a song called The Rapping Gorilla, which
Is it on
obviously-
Spotify?
You can probably find somewhere on YouTube. So,
All right.
who has more followers on Instagram? Pogacar, the entire of Ineos Grenadiers, or Rigoberto Urán?
Rigo.
Rigo, yeah.
Correct. Point each. 2.6 million for Rigo, 1.1 for Ineos, 1.9 for Pogacar. So,
What a man. What a man.
yeah. So, the scores currently...
I love it. I love we're like, what a man. 2.6 million followers on Instagram. What a real man. What a man.
There's one more question, and then there's a bonus question.
Okay.
So, scores currently 4-3 to Mitch. What was Rigo's best monument result?
Second in Lombardia.
Very close.
Third in Lombardia.
Third.
Correct.
Damn.
Right. Bonus question.
The year Chavez won?
Yes.
I thought he got
correct.
second that year. Damn it.
Bonus question, and this is worth 600,000 points. Scores, just going to remind you, are 5-3. So 600,000 points for this one. Rigoberto Urán and Tom Southam raced one professional race day together. Who came out on top?
Well, should we say what race it was?
If the race was stage 1 of the 3 days of Japan in 2006.
Oh, Tom, you would have smoked him. Big classic rider.
Rigo beat him.
No. Tom Southam 71st, Rigoberto Urán.
Yeah.
Neff Durbo wins 600 and
Oh, boom. Easy. You got to play on the ego, Mitch. Play the man. Don't play the game. You play the man.
Oh God, very good. I love that. That was perfect. I had no idea you were going to do a tribute to him, and I'm glad I mentioned him at the start. He is a legend. I was very happy to race alongside of him in the team. That's cool.
The day before I left the Vuelta was the day before he crashed, and he's the one rider I actually went up to and said, "Can I get a quick selfie before it's our last day together? Can I get a quick picture?"
Oh, that's cool.
And
that is cool.
It was really nice. It was a pleasure. It was a real pleasure to work with that guy. And
when I was riding for him in the Vuelta one year, Walmart gave me the job to protect him and ride in front of him and do all that sort of stuff. And I crashed someone overlapped the wheels and I went down right in front of him, just me and him. And I was just like, oh no, I can't believe it. I had one job and I just crashed our GC leader. And yeah, he was pretty cool about it, but he wasn't impressed. So yeah, that's my Rigo story. Well, boys, great catching up. And we will see you for the second last episode of the year next time.
Hopefully we can be actual hosts rather than guests next week.
yeah, maybe we get a start.
Yeah, maybe we get a start. All right. See you, boys.
Ciao, boys.
Bye.
That iconic music in this episode was composed by none other than the legend, Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.